Hello, Anointed Ones, and welcome back to the Anointed TV channel. Today, we're discussing a story that's sending shockwaves through the Christian community. Joni Lamb's marriage to Dr. Doug Weiss, a marriage counselor and sex therapist who divorced his wife of over 30 years. While Joni Lamb has been a pillar of faith on Daystar television, this marriage has raised serious questions. Even though Joni was free to remarry after the passing on of her late husband Marcus Lamb, the circumstances in which her new husband Doug divorced his wife are in question.
So what's your favorite things about Lisa?
Oh, she's got the purest heart I've ever met. I mean, it's just, she loves and serves with excellence. Everything she does with excellence. I mean, people just like her because she's just got this kind of like, how can I help you? Heart, you know? That's just easy.
That is so much like my Joni.
Oh, thank you.
Say that she abandoned him. That's his excuse, that his ex-wife abandoned him. The ex-wife is running his business. The ex-wife, from his own lips, we have other recordings where he said she was a faithful, good wife, a great mother for 30-something years, maybe 36, I'm not exactly sure, but over 30 years. And this part is the sad part. She was begging him to stay and not leave her.
Would you say that grounds for divorce was present in this situation for Doug to leave and marry Joni?
My goodness. Well, that's a direct question, isn't it? No.
Some think Joni got married again too soon, which was less than 2 years after the passing of her then-husband. A longtime family friend, Denise Bogs, in her letter said that Joni is under deception, and the information shared in the ongoing Lamb's family saga proves so. In this video, we look at 7 red flags surrounding the controversial Joni Lamb and Doug Weiss union. Let's dive in. Red flag number 1, timing of divorce. Doug Weiss filed for divorce from his wife, Lisa Weiss, in January 2022, finalizing it in May 2022. This was just 2 months after Joni Lamb's husband, Marcus Lamb, passed away. While Joni was mourning the loss of her husband of over 40 years, Doug's decision to leave his marriage raised eyebrows. Was it mere coincidence, or did Doug already have his sights set on Joni?
February 8th is when Doug announces his divorce from Lisa Weiss. Okay, remember, she got divorced, and I've got the documentation. Lisa and Doug divorced on May 31st. He's announcing it on February 8th, 2023.
Red flag number 2, lack of transparency. As a marriage counselor and sex therapist, Doug Weiss failed to disclose his divorce to his clients until February 2023. This was nearly a year after his divorce and only 2 days before Joni publicly announced their relationship. Why would someone in a profession built on trust and transparency hide something so significant for so long?
I'm guessing the people that are going to him as a marriage counselor, do they even know this whole time that he's divorced?
They don't, and that's what I had a big problem with, is that there was that deception. He counseled patients at his counseling center under the guise that he had a great marriage, and so that's deceptive. I mean, if you're going through a divorce, I think you should disclose that to your patients.
And then, as I understand it, just a few days later, on February 10, 2023, Joni announces her engagement. So he's announcing on February 8th that he just got divorced. She's announcing 2 days later that she's engaged.
And that's what's so crazy is, I think that's the only reason he did it then is because he realized Joni's about to announce her engagement, but he hasn't even disclosed to any of his employees that he's even divorced. So it's almost like he was forced to do it. He waited to the last possible moment before he did.
Red flag number 3, ignoring wise counsel. Joni Lamb ignored advice from multiple trusted sources who cautioned against her relationship with Doug Weiss. These included her adult children, Jonathan, Rachel, and Rebecca Lamb, and their spouses, longtime family friend and counselor Denise Bogs, many pastors, and even a portion of her Daystar audience. All of them raised concerns about Doug's reasons for divorce and his suitability as Joni's partner.
I have spoken with many pastors and said, it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility as pastors. It's your responsibility. If you love Joni, to speak into this if you are not in favor of it. And several of them said, well, we're not. At one time, I was even given a whole list by someone in the family of all the ones that were not in favor of the wedding and the marriage. And I talked to a couple of them and I said, well, because we're to care for the widows, care for them. That's a vulnerable time for them. And if you care for them and you don't feel like this is of the Lord, that this is being jumped into too prematurely, then speak straight to her. Speak the truth to her in love. Let her know that. And so I do know of one that spoke the truth. I do know of one leader that was willing to speak the truth of how he felt about it. And he spoke directly to Joni.
To say there's probably a couple of leaders or more
Yes.
that actually, may have said something. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that was received by Joni. Do you have any understanding of that?
No, apparently it wasn't well received. And so she just wanted people around her that would support her. And so, so it was not well received. And I'm sure that's why many of the others did not speak into it.
Was there anybody else at the company, in the ministry? And you guys have so many different ministers that come on and shout to you or back you guys up and been like, yeah, that's kind of like, and give her the warning as well?
Oh yeah,
Secretly.
Pastor Rodney Howard Brown was very
I
clear.
I love Pastor
He
Brown.
was very clear. He came as a guest after my mom was engaged, but before they got married. No, but he was one of the ones that put the fear of God into us, because he clearly came to Daystar in February of 2022, and February 2023, and he told us this is wrong. Like your mother would be living in sin if she moves forward with this relationship, and I won't come back as long as he's married to her.
And he said that. Did he say that to her? And we don't have to bring up anybody else.
Well, he said that to Susie and Rebecca.
Okay.
I was out that day. My mother was out traveling that day, but he made it clear to them.
We had a show ministry. It was the most powerful. He was walking out of the studio. People were falling, just dropping like flies. The presence of God was so strong. He is a man of conviction, and he shared his heart with us because we genuinely needed counsel.
Yeah.
But again, for everyone who disagreed, everyone's respectful. They're like, this is her choice. So
well, let's just finish up on Rodney. So he also told us that my dad had a conversation with him on the golf course, and he talked about how Doug had put my dad through the proverbial ringer after the time he had the affair, because they went to Doug Weiss for counseling. And so again, he was just uneasy about the fact that here this man is who knows all these insider information about my mom and dad's relationship, and now he's pursuing a relationship.
So there's people that probably did give her the warning.
He was definitely in the minority.
Many pastors called us, but they don't want to
I'd say 95% of pastors are saying, I just don't want to be involved with it.
No.
Red flag number 4. Jimmy Evans' one-sided counseling. Pastor Jimmy Evans, who mentored Joni and Doug through their relationship, refused to meet with Lisa Weiss or hear her side of the story.
Because for all you know, Doug could have just told you half-truths or one side of the story.
Well, Jonathan, I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of discernment. I could have, in talking to Doug and also with Joni, I could have discerned if he was lying in 5 minutes because I know how to talk to him. And when he said to me when we were talking and I asked him question after question after question after question, he answered every question exactly, and he never dishonored Lisa. Never threw under the bus.
But he's a pro. He's like the best of the best when it comes to dealing with people.
You've dehumanized him.
He would know what to say,
I'm an object in this world. In the world that you guys created, Doug's an object. He's not a soul. Yeah. He's not a brother in Christ. Yeah. He's not forgiven. He's not the righteousness of Christ. He's an object.
That's Doug.
So you have dehumanized him. He's professional. He knew what he was doing and seducing a grieving widow and all this stuff. What I'm saying is, as a human, I'm talking to Doug on the phone and I'm asking questions, and he's answering every single question the way I've heard it answered over and over and over by someone who's been abused over a long period of time. And so number one. Number two is I talked to people and I asked questions, because I'm not going to tell you who I talked to, but I asked questions and I got the answers about what was happening in their relationship. And I met Lisa a couple of times. And so I was satisfied because of the conversations I had with her and him and others, that in having a conversation with Lisa, because we talked about this when we met the other day, I think Rachel was asking, I know what Lisa would have said, and what it would have done is exactly what Doug said. It would have slowed it down 6 months. And I don't care. The great thing about being my age is I just don't care. You know, I've got a good quality of life. You can trust my experience and my judgment, or you can't. I'm not going to sell myself, and I'm not going to defend myself. The only thing I'm going to say is this is not the first time or the 30th time I've done this.
Of course, Jimmy, and I know that talking to Lisa could have slowed it down 6 months, but would that have been a bad thing when we're all questioning every single? No, I know, but
That's their concern. They're desperate.
Every son and daughter.
The
Jimmy, can I
conversation we
finish?
just had was about adult children in a remarriage when there's been a death, and I'm saying I give you grace for your emotions and what you're feeling, but I'm not going through what you're going through, and I've got the experience. I'm saying,
Jimmy,
you can trust and you can submit, or you can keep going through this wrangling, and that's all it is.
we need to process this out.
I'm not going to talk to Lisa. I didn't talk to Lisa, and I'm not going to defend myself on that.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, would it be the worst thing if it slowed down 6 months if every single offspring of these two individuals is questioning the validity of this marriage?
Your view is different.
No.
It's not going to change the Bible verses you quote.
No.
It's not going to change anything.
No,
that you presented today.
but again, what if there is a spark of hope that Lisa could get back with you? Wouldn't that be the best solution in the end?
Jimmy stated that he believed Doug's account of abandonment, but Denise Bogs, who counseled Lisa Weiss extensively, shared that Lisa wanted to restore her marriage.
Jimmy Evans says there was abandonment. He has full grounds for divorce. So I'm just wondering, in your conversation with Jimmy Evans, what did you share with him?
I did not have a conversation with Jimmy Evans. He didn't call me to ask me anything about Lisa. So I didn't have a conversation with him.
So he probably spoke with Lisa, I'm imagining. To your knowledge, did he meet with Lisa?
To my knowledge, she never told me, you know, when I had conversation with her, that she had talked to Jimmy Evans. Now, I'm not sure on that, but I haven't been told that. So,
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Miss Denise. Would it be your determination that after meeting so intimately with all the parties, that your determination would be that abandonment has been adequate grounds for divorce between Doug and Lisa?
you know, I'm just sitting here recalling my time with Lisa. So, no, I mean, I guess that must have been a term, to be honest with you, that was given to it at a later time, maybe, you know, to come up with, you know, everybody's trying to figure out what happened to a 30-year marriage who's had a ministry together. They work together to heal and restore marriages. And so I guess maybe that's the term they came up with, you know, of what went wrong. But that was not, I did not work with them at all based on abandonment. No, I didn't.
Even Jonathan and Susie Lamb provided evidence supporting Lisa's willingness to reconcile, which Joni ignored.
Moment for me when I truly realized that this is not the God I serve is not here is the day that Joni came over. It was Jonathan, me, and JW who were about to watch the Cowboys game, and Joni was angry and said, you know, Doug is in Colorado and his wife, ex-wife, had been begging him all day to reconcile and to choose her, and then Joni was like, "Yo, it makes me want him more. Shows me what a great husband he'll be."
Yeah.
Red flag number 5. Doug's ambition for a TV show. Doug Weiss had openly expressed his desire to have a TV show on Daystar. Marrying Joni Lamb, the owner of Daystar Television Network, would certainly make that goal more achievable. Is it possible that Doug's intentions were less about love and more about advancing his career?
Yeah, I believe he would know exactly what to say and what to do, you know, to accomplish his means, which I believe is capturing the ultimate prize, which is my mother. The other troubling thing was that Doug had been appearing on Daystar as a guest for well over a decade, probably multiple times a year. So he'd had well over 20 appearances on Daystar over the past decade. So he knew about Daystar, he knew about the platform, he knew what it had to offer, and he was on record stating that he had always wanted a television ministry. And so, ironically, he says the reason he actually started conversating with my mom was he called her to tell her that he is buying time on the ministry for his program, and he just wanted to let her know that he was divorced. He wanted to make sure that'd be okay for him to still have a show on Daystar. And my mom said that's when they started talking, and ever since then, their relationship blossomed. So, again, that's just troubling that he knew about Daystar and what it had to offer, and it's like he got the prize he was looking for. And he wanted a television ministry, and this is a fact. Whenever my dad had the memorial service in December of 2021, he is on record saying that he was the first person to see the casket open up. And he made a crass remark saying he wanted to make sure that my dad was still there.
He told the whole Daystar staff that.
He was there, he was aware, and then 2 months after the memorial service, he files for divorce of his wife of over 30 years. And then, as soon as the divorce is finalized in May of 2021, they're texting regularly.
That's red flag number 6, disunity in the Lamb family. Joni's marriage to Doug has led to significant disunity within the Lamb family. Jonathan and Susie Lamb have voiced their concerns repeatedly, yet Joni continues to defend Doug. It appears she is willing to risk her relationship with her children for the sake of her marriage. But if this marriage were truly in God's will, wouldn't it be a source of unity and blessing rather than division?
But the truth is, my mother and I had a really good relationship, and she literally told me that I trust you with my life, to the point that when my father passed, she literally added me to every single one of her bank accounts and credit cards. That's how much trust she had in me.
Wow.
So that's the way it was. Not until Doug came into the picture was there a real rift, because we just stood firm on our convictions, and she had the attitude that I heard from God. God told me to marry this man, and therefore, if you don't believe that God told me to marry this man, we can't do ministry together. So it was like a breaking point.
Could we go through the...
If your spouse suddenly dies and you very quickly move on to date somebody else, and you marry a year later, and you try to force your children to accept it, it is only going to help the root of bitterness, hurt, and resentment grow like a ragweed. If you truly believe the Lord brought the two of you together, if you truly believe this marriage is from God, that is for God then to deal with that with your children on the matter. It's not for you to browbeat them into accepting a new spouse. It's not for you to force them, to strong on them when they're still trying to go through the grieving process of getting over a very sudden and tragic death of their father. You win them over with your actions, not your words. If that marriage came from the Lord, that's up for the Lord to deal with your children. You continue to pray and be about your business that you are supposed to be doing with the Lord, not getting so involved in forcing your kids to accept something that they may in time, but they're not ready to accept. And I'm going to tell you that if you want to have a party in the room counseling or mediating between you and your son, the man that's been lining his pockets with money from Daystar for a very long time is probably not the person to put in that room. An impartial party, that has no skin in the game, is where you are going to get the most productive conversations happening.
Red flag number 7, contradicting her advocacy against divorce. Joni Lamb has long been a vocal advocate against divorce. In 2010, when Marcus Lamb admitted to infidelity, Joni chose to work through their issues and restore their marriage, citing her belief in the biblical principle that God hates divorce. Why, then, would she now marry a divorcee whose wife reportedly wanted to restore their marriage? This stark contradiction has left many questioning her discernment.
But yeah, my point was, wouldn't it be the best thing to get back with Lisa? And then I said, if you move forward with this marriage, Mom, how did we lose the ability to preach the uncompromised truth of the Word of God, that God is not for divorce? He wants people to reconcile and to get back and restore marriages. And it's so sad because of this whole relationship. My mother went on this campaign with different podcasters and different guests on the show, And now instead of talking about restoring marriages, it's almost like she's doing her best to justify divorce and to talk about how that's okay a lot of times. There's a clip of her, going on with Tim Ross and talking about that. So it's just sad that that's now the narrative that she's pushing. And, before, back when she was married to my father, she was probably one of the strongest people when it came to her conviction and believing and fighting for marriage and doing whatever it takes. And obviously my mother endured horrible affair by my father, I think for about a 7-year period. And she had every right to leave the marriage in that case biblically, because of the adultery. And she made the decision to fight for her marriage. And that was so honorable. And obviously God blessed her many times over for that decision. So it's just sad to see that that's where she was then, and to now. It's sad to see how she's changed her stance on that.
Directly in her eye, and I said, Joni, your own children are saying at this point that you've destroyed this man's marriage.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give up 40 years of faithfulness to God and your testimony?
Yeah.
Everything for this one man? She looked me dead in the eyes and she said, yes.
They say that she abandoned him. That's his excuse, that his ex-wife abandoned him. The ex-wife is running his business. The ex-wife, from his own lips, we have other recordings where he said she was a faithful, good wife, a great mother for 30-something years, maybe 36, I'm not exactly sure, but over 30 years. And this part is the sad part. She was begging him to stay and not leave her. So when I hear one woman is begging this man to stay, a wife of his youth, and another woman saying, no, he's mine, the breaking started to happen where I was like, God, I've never disobeyed before, but this is not matching up to your word. So then I start talking to pastors and I look into scripture and Matthew, right there, Matthew 19:9. And I tell you this, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery unless his wife has been unfaithful. His wife was not unfaithful.
The concerns surrounding Joni Lamb's marriage to Doug Weiss are significant and deeply troubling. From questionable timing to disunity within the family, these red flags deserve careful consideration. Marriage is a sacred covenant, and decisions like this should reflect unity, transparency, and biblical truth. What are your thoughts on these red flags? Do you think Joni Lamb's marriage to Doug Weiss reflects God's will, or do these concerns reveal deeper issues? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more faith-based discussions.